The hell? Today's episode starts with the introductions. We have Fire Braver, the Fire Truck Shift Car, and Rolling Gravity, who mix the roads for the other shift cars, and finally Shift Technique, which will activate Drive's third body. And if Type Wild required a burning passion, Shift Technique requires Shinosuke to be the embodiment of Zen. And of course, he, someone who can go absent-minded at the drop of a hat, suddenly forgets how to. But a fire starts somewhere in the city with a side of slowdown. The road mute this time is disguised as a discount Doc Brown. Fire Braver is on the scene to put out the fire, thankfully. As you can guess, that was just one of a series of arsons which the SCU prepares to investigate, with Shinosuke trying his best to be cool-headed to try Type Technique. Like, really trying. At the crime scene, the team meets one of the children of the house. One of his toys, a robot, got burned before the rest of the house lit. Shinosuke gets an idea, but as he investigates other objects, he and Kiriko spot two suspicious men in the crowd. Of course, they're road mutes, which conveniently don't transform immediately when being cornered, allowing Tridoron to arrive with the belt. They're not evolved, but a third evolved roid mute arrives in support. This fucker can control electricity, using it to both attack and deflect. Belt-san says that Type Technique would help him, but of course, he can't use it yet. So he goes for Type Wild and dispatches one of the lesser road mutes. Before Shinosuke can go after the other two though, the lightning road mute injures some nearby construction workers. Of course, helping people is more important and he sets to cure them with Mad Doctor. You know, the "Oh God, the pain!" shift car. Yeah. Anyway, the evolved road mute was the Fox Doc Brown. He and the other are greeted by Machine Chaser on their way out, but they plead to be given more time, and he doesn't execute them. He wonders if what happened with Kiriko is making him soft. But who happens to be there but the kid from before? Apparently he got that robot from the roid mute and was looking for him to repair it, but overheard everything, and I must admit that this little sequence I really like. This kid actor is good. Returning to the SCU, Shinosuke has found out that the fire was caused by electrical surges. Except some of the burst appliances weren't even plugged in. They got the method and the culprit, but not the motive. Why go to all this trouble? They managed to calculate the hideout of the roid mute from the radius of the incidents. Once they get there, they find Teruhiko hooked up to some weird apparatus full of wires, but the roid mute, named Vault, appears, his underling grabbing a piece of the machinery. He was experimenting to create a device which could control the entire city's power grid, and according to him, not even Drive can touch the machine and free Teruhiko, as he is now, which means that it's Type Technique time! A tip: never get a person so angry that they'll go into cold rage mode, which doesn't make sense with the cool head joke of this episode, but anyway, Type Technique is here! It gives him the power of machine mastery, multitasking, and being able to look behind his head. In short, he becomes a technician with industrial precision, and with the assistance of Fire Braver, he frees Teruhiko. And then it's time to run after the two roid mutes and see Tridoron's new form, which is... I don't really know how to describe it. Something with arms, which is not cool at all anyway, Belt-san. You can't sell me that! Sorry! Volt's underling tries to escape with something, emphasis on tries, since Trideron slams him into the ground. Shinosuke then dons Rolling Gravity, which allows him to trap his enemy. He's now ready for the finisher! Rolling Gravity combined with Door Gun makes for a decent finisher, not too shabby, but I have a feeling that Drive failed to really stop his enemies this time. Volt's underling, before dying, manages to pass the piece of machinery to Heart. Heart is cryptic about its use, but considering the two Roidmudes were willing to die to protect it, it can be good. What is good is Teruiko, who understands the need to keep Shinosuke's identity a secret. He gets a Drive emblem for his trouble. We then move to episode 10, where we discover that Christmas Eve is also Shinosuke's birthday. Why is everyone so surprised? I don't know. And I get being down about getting a combination present as a kid, but as an adult... And boy, I wish I knew Japanese. I bet these jokes would make more sense. I hope. Anyway, suddenly a blackout, a citywide one, and it's also affecting things not connected to the power grid. But no need to fear the dark or green energy messages, burning solar is here! Going to the pit, they find that even the backup generators have been affected, and as the power comes back, we see that Volt has resurrected. That plaque they removed from his machine, absorbing electricity, managed to give him a new body, and his return gets noticed by the police. After a bit of digging, they find out that the person Volt copied died of an illness 3 months before. The guy was a writer, so they decide to read his book, hoping for some intel, and what do you know? His novel depicts a story of revolutionaries creating a machine to control electricity, but he died without writing about its usage in the sequel, which is supposed to happen on Christmas Eve, and as they ponder this, Machine Chaser appears in the library. He invites them to follow him outside to a deserted area where they can duel. Shinosuke is starting to see a pattern in his actions. What he doesn't see is that Chase is convinced he'll find out the truth about himself if he fights Shinosuke, but their fight is interrupted when Heart appears. Upon seeing him, Bell-san almost has an heart attack. The Roidmude is all smiling and polite at first, but when Shinosuke insults Volt's memory, he gets pretty angry. Bell-san doesn't let Shinosuke fight though. He summons Strideron and convinces him and Kiriko to run. The bad guys then hint at two things, a so-called dead zone which they kept Shinosuke out of, and a promise Chase made to Heart. As you switch to the good guys, the beans are getting spilled. Heart is the Roidmude who murdered Belt-san. Belt-san's real name is Cream Stainbelt, and he was a human before. Shinosuke takes it in stride, minding the Belt's state of mind right now, but as his partner continues explaining, he invites the cop to follow him somewhere. He was a scientist. His colleague, Professor Banno, created the Roidmudes, a new type of android capable of evolving. To further his research, he asked the Belt-san for his core driver engines. The two were friends, so Stainbelt accepted. The former professor has brought Shinosuke to what's left of his mansion. 15 years before, the 3 prototype Roidmudes rebelled. They murdered Banno and then came for him, but he had already prepared the belt. With his consciousness transferred into it upon his death, he was able to continue working. He created Protodrive just before the global freeze, so he not only fears Heart because of his power, he also feels guilt because he had a hand in creating the Roidmudes. We switch to Kiriko, who is investigating the scrapyard Volt was using as a base of operations. In a very well done sequence, Kiriko encounters a density shift and answers a phone that should be dead. It's a pre-recorded message by Volt. The density shifts can also be set as traps, huh? Anyway, he warns that even killing him is not enough to stop his ambition. Kiriko in turn calls Shinosuke and he is about to go there, but Heart has been following him. He's here to stop Shinosuke from going after Volt, and boy, this guy has quite the body count. Not only did he kill Banno and Cream, during the global freeze he evolved, and he was the one who killed the Protodrive. This time Shinosuke has no choice but to fight. He fights well, and he fights smart, but Heart is his toughest customer yet. He doesn't give up though. With Concrete Mixer he gains enough breather to turn into Type Wild. but not enough to lay a successful hit. Heart's raw power is overwhelming. So much power that he stops a charge from Tridoron and then throws it away. Shinosuke can't even scratch his powerful adversary, who's completely intent on killing him. But at the last second, Shinosuke manages to discover Heart's weak point, his exposed heart, and with type technique he starts manipulating the Rodmude's body to, I guess, explode. Shinosuke is telling Belt-san to escape, to leave and find a new drive, but Belt is unwilling to do so, and the episode ends in one of the most unusual Mexican standoffs I ever seen. First, this kid was very good. The kid actors in Kamen were awful, but this guy... Did you look at him when there was that sequence with him and Volt? You could read the terror on his face. If anyone knows his name, let me know. He is to keep an eye on. Moving to the other stuff, the plot thickens. Even if a lot of hanging questions have been answered, we now know who Belt-san was, and we know who created the Rodmudes and why. What we don't know is, why did the Rodmudes rebel? What's this promised number? Chase's real identity? What's the dead zone? And how the hell will Shinosuke survive his first encounter with Heart? The writing was decent, would have been great if it wasn't for most comedy being lame, but that may be me. Maybe I don't get the jokes because I'm not Japanese, but what I really liked in these two episodes is the directing. The scene in episode 9 with Teruiko and Volt and the one with Kiriko in the scrapyard were my favorites. Very well done, very intense. They really drove home the mystery part of the show and wouldn't look out of a place in a thriller. Regarding the shift cars, it's nice to see Vegas keep on making appearances. Also, Burning Solar is following its footsteps in being slowly revealed. I bet that shift car is pretty powerful. And Type Technique, its powers are cool. The design and colors are meh, not good but not bad either, but Tridoron's transformation, it's ridiculous. A big letdown after Type Wild's awesome form. It's useful, yes, but it just looks so plain compared to the other two that... Oh well, you can't have everything, can you? And that's all for this double episode, Rider fans. Can't wait to see what Volt is going to do. What do you think? How the hell is Shinosuke going to get out of this bind? Let me know in the comments or one of my social media accounts. And don't forget to like this video and subscribe if you still haven't. Jane!